details. Time being 9 o'clock, I call the meeting to order. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, would I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Motion made, Commissioner Chomey. Is
I'll
there a
second
second?
it.
Agenda.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes. The motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes.
I'll
second it. Look good.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed nay. Motion is carried. At this time, the public is welcome to address the county board on any matter of county concern. When invited to speak, please state your name, address, and the topic you are addressing. Members of the public may speak respectfully for up to 2 minutes. The public comment period is limited to a total of 15 minutes. County board members may ask or answer questions of the speaker, but issues shall not be debated during the public comment period. At the board's discretion, the board may agree to schedule matters addressed during the public period on the current board agenda or on a future board agenda. All discussions must be civil in nature and must be directed at the board, not at other members of the public. Any discussions regarding employee or department performance are not allowed and should be taken up with the Human Resources Department or appropriate department head. Does anyone wish to address the board?
Morning, Commissioners. My name is Bruce Chemical from Caledonia. I'd appreciate a point of clarification from you, Board, please. In your regular meeting on Tuesday, June 16, 2015, the official minutes state on page 184, quote, motion was made by Commissioner Zeminski and seconded by Commissioner Kajomi to hold a public hearing following the discussion by the Highway Department Building Input Committee. A roll call was taken. District 1, no. District 2, yes. District 3, no. District 4, yes. District 5, yes. The motion carried, unquote. Then, in your meeting on Tuesday, July 7, a motion was made and passed that charged the county highway engineer to come up with a county highway shop plan, the siting of the shop on that acreage, the costing, and to pursue the permits for that shop on the 22-acre site near the Caledonia Middle School High School. This is video recorded at the county website, video timestamp 18 minutes and 7 seconds. Further on in that same meeting on timestamp 1850, Commissioner Kajomi asked the chair whether or not we were going to wait until the Citizen Input Committee had finished their deliberations on the issue. The chair did not respond in a complete answer as other board members had interrupted him in his response. So my question to you, board, will you honor your past motion on June 16 to conduct a hearing or not?
Discussion?
Well, I guess I had that same question last week. Is that something that put on the highway department on unfinished business to chat about a little bit more? Or?
Yeah, under Highway Department, please.
Sure.
Sounds good.
Just to follow up on that, not knowing how that discussion will conclude, I would like to submit to you that if you do not honor your motion, then I'm just kind of wondering about your integrity.
Eric Johnson, Houston Township. I'm just here to give credit where credit is due. I know week in and week out you've been getting lambasted by the Houston County Protectors, telling especially you, Steve, and Judy and Teresa how incompetent you are. The zoning and planning, how incompetent they are. But here, yesterday, I'm talking about Tracy Erickson's mining permit for his sand pit. You guys did the right thing in renewing his sand pit. The planning and zoning did their job renewing it. You followed the law by granting his permit back. And to the dislike of the Houston County Protectors, they convinced the DNR to shut him down. Well, in turn, Tracy took him to court, and Court of Appeals, and they lost. The DNR lost their case. He got his permit back. And I just like to say, I know you guys have been getting bashed here right and left every week, but you guys do some good work, along with the Zoning and Planning Commission, unlike what you hear from these people here every day. So I just wanted to say that, and I'll just put my 2 cents in worth on the shop deal. Now you might change your mind on me on this one, but I think to save the county money, to save the county hassle, and a disruption of the neighborhood and the city of Caledonia, I think you should just build the new shop at the old site. That's just my opinion. Cut the size down and build it there. Yeah, you already have a place there. It's be an easy transition, and that's just my 2 cents worth. Thanks, sir.
Thanks, Eric.
Brian Van Gorp, Yucatan Township. I came here today to let you know that we are not fooled. We know lies are at the bottom of the recent developments in this county. For example, the ethics complaint I filed 4 months ago was recently returned with a letter of dismissal saying the denial of our appeal to the Board of Adjustments was dismissed because we can only appeal a decision made by an administrative official. That is exactly what we were appealing. Wasn't it that it determined there was no permit violations at mine? We have them on videotape repeating this lie at every level of the permit approval process. Wasn't it the same people who said the EAW is not relevant? You all know there were violations there because I've shown you pictures, documents, and told you the evidence. Instead of believing the evidence, you chose to accept the lie. That has made all the difference. Now the state appeals court has ruled based on that lie, along with other lies that you were other lies, such as there was no pending environmental review and there was no denial of due process. If you had not accepted and acted on these lies, the permit would not exist and there would have been no case to appeal. An invalid process, in this case based on a lie, cannot yield a valid permit. I will have to learn to live with the noise and the dust. I will have to accept the loss of property value and quality of life. That is all taken away when you live next to an illegal mine. What is going to be even harder to accept is the loss of another piece of innocence. The loss of faith in our government and in my fellow man. You, Judy, Steve, and Teresa, along with
Point of order.
have stolen that.
The proper notices have not been given for this comment.
Exactly.
You lack
Take your seat.
interest
Take
in
your seat.
justice.
Take your seat.
If the papers are interested in the extent of these lies and the proof of these lies, please contact.
Take a seat.
Donna Buckby, Yucatan Township. I would encourage people to go online, or maybe the churches are handing these out too, but read the Pope's encyclical on climate change and the environment. It's very interesting. I'm about 2/3 of the way through it, reading very carefully, and have kind of glanced through the rest of it, but it's very instructive. The encyclical talks about the destruction of beautiful places and the spiritual poverty we're paraphrasing here, but the spiritual poverty of those who would destroy beautiful places. I think we can all agree that Houston County is one of the most beautiful places on earth. The Pope also says that, talks about the corruption of government at every level, federal, state, local, municipal, and he calls on citizens groups to combat this corruption. He supports the citizens' action groups and calls for their action because he says that government, corrupt government, is unable or unwilling to protect the earth.
Does anyone else wish to address the board? If not, we will continue with our meeting. Brian.
Morning, Commissioners. On the agenda for a couple items today. The first item is approve a final payment for project CP 2015-02, which is the pavement marking project by contractor was AAA Striping. Original contract amount $59,363.99. Work certified is $60,533.71. So slight overrun on paint that was utilized, but overall it's within the general scope of what we expected to see.
Is there a motion to approve payment?
Motion to approve payment.
I'll second it.
Further discussion? All those in, excuse me, all of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. The motion is carried.
Next item, and I guess before I talk about this, I'm going to mention that there's a second item that I want to add, or a third item add to the agenda, which would be an additional item for fund balance I'm going to request. So first item I have is we have two culverts in Houston County that's been causing problems for us with some separated joints. The first is a cattle pass on County 10 north of Sheldon. Where the cattle pass is, there's in particular one joint that's separated where you can stick your fist into the joint, you can reach up there, you can peel off gravel and rock from up above. Roadway settling, we can go out there and rip it up with our staff, push the pipes back together, retie it, but it's going to cost more than if we hire a company to come in and seal the coin using some special products and stuff. And they can do that work in that pipe for $7,200. The second location is on County 6, just to the west of the Crescent. That one has about 25 feet of cover over the pipe. We've been having essentially sinkholes forming in the roadway. It'll be anywhere from 6 inches to a foot in diameter. Usually they shovel out 18 inches deep. Where the soils from above the pipe are coming all the way down, is actually creating voids at the surface. The repair for that one is $55,340. Again, we could do it with our own staff. We're estimating $75,000 to do repair, which would entail digging it up, and then you have the roadway shut down the traffic for probably 4 days, maybe 5 days. That roadway's going to settle, so you're going to end up having to go back probably and put another foot of asphalt over to fix that settlement. What that $55,000 would include would be sealing all the joints on the pipe, along with pumping some, essentially it's like an expandable foam that's designed to handle the extreme temperatures. And they'll pump it around the pipe itself, along with all the voids from the pipe all the way up to the road surface. So the roadway shouldn't settle anymore, the void shouldn't open up again.
Are you talking like concrete box culverts or concrete?
The one is a 72-inch concrete round pipe, so a 6-foot pipe, and the other one is a 66-inch pipe, so that's a 5.5-foot pipe.
Okay.
Is that the one I called you about to check? Or is this a
one's
different
over
spot?
by Big Ed's.
Oh,
factory.
sure, okay.
So, the one on Well, both of them, we've been watching them get worse, just the one on, both of them have been really deteriorating last year, especially the one on 6. I think we've gotten 3 or 4 phone calls since spring already on that one. We need to get it repaired. We didn't budget for it. We used to have a line item in our budget that would have essentially $100,000 worth of money that we didn't know what it was going to go toward, but something like this showed up every year, or not every year, but a lot of years.
Right.
So in this case, we don't have that line item anymore, but we need to get these repairs done. So it's just, you know, do we want to hire a company to do it, or do we want to do it ourselves? Least impact, cheaper cost to hire it out. So, and before you act on that one, the other item that I wanted to bring up is on County 13. I'll pass some pictures around for that one on 13. Steve saw those at subcommittee. 13, we're redoing the hill section just west of Houston. We had 2007 flood bond or stated disaster funds to repair the hill section. The next half mile of roadway was included in our original project scope and limits. However, the funding was limited to a set dollar amount. And what happened is the state said we could not go over that dollar amount. If we did, then we'd have to essentially bring the entire roadway, that entire hill section up to state aid standards. So keep shrinking our project down to the bare minimum so we don't go over on cost. So this next half mile of roadway is had issues in the past in the spring. This year in particular had real bad issues. There's some major rutting in the roadway. So what we're proposing is to have Matthew come in and while they're paving the hill section, to pave the next half mile of roadway where you wedge in the ruts and then you put a 2-inch lift over it. Cost of doing that is $80,000 or $80,350. Again, it's a non-budgeted item. If the board doesn't approve this, the other option is go back out there and just do the wedges. Bare minimum of what we need is probably going to cost us $20,000 to do that. And that's just going to get us a patch to hold together until next spring, where if we did a 2-inch overlay, we feel it's kind of an intermediate fix. We can hopefully get the roadway to last 10 years. So again, that's not budgeted. We'd have to go to fund balance to use fund balance money for that. So combined between the paving on 13 and the 2 pipes, total cost would be essentially $163,000 or $143,000 worth of fund balance.
When would you need to know by?
Paving on 13, that one I'm going to guess is probably about 3 weeks out before they want to pave. So it doesn't need to be done today, but I would prefer to come back next week or something. The other 2 pipes, they don't need to be done today either. The company's going to probably be on the interstate doing some work over there along with maybe Winona County in September. So, you know, we don't need to do it today, but we can come back next week or even the following week for that one.
What is wedging?
Essentially what they'll do is they'll just put down a tack coat, essentially a layer of glue, and then they'll essentially just scrape asphalt as thin as you can get in there where you're riding
Just
on,
fill in?
Right, yes, you're filling in the low points. So
Yeah.
you're right on the high points and fill in the low points.
Okay.
And where is 13?
13 is west of Houston. This section is the top of Oak Ridge Hill, so you're talking probably about 2 miles west of Houston.
Wedging's got to let go within a year, wouldn't it? With frost?
You glue it so that kind of
Yeah.
helps hold it together some, but it keeps getting peeled up by the plow
Yeah.
as they go over it. So that's why it's nice to do a thin layer of pavement over that top of the wedge to help hold it all
Okay.
together.
The wedging strikes me, I mean, it's cheap, but
Yeah, and this is the same thing that we did on, real similar to what we did on County 25 between Evans Hill and the top of Popple Hill, Evans Hill Road, top of Popple Hill. We did that after the state repaved.
Mhm.
Trunk Highway 16, that would have been done 4 years ago, maybe 5 years, and it's held up really good over there. So.
Well, I got another question. We can. I don't know, deal with this or something, but I got one more question for you after this. I don't know, did you want to?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I guess just suggestion, I don't know if, for 143,000, I don't know, do you want to take a vote on it today, or do you want to just come back with kind of details of where the money's coming from next week and just do it next week, or what?
I guess it's
I
going
think
to come
we
out
ha-
of
I
fund
think we-
balance, probably your fund balance.
Mhm.
If you feel more comfortable waiting a week, I'm fine with it.
It doesn't, I guess it doesn't matter to me, just as long as we know that the money's going to be covered from somewhere, that we're not
Mhm.
going to catch ourselves short. And I'm sure you guys have looked into that.
Well, I think we have to do the culverts for sure. I mean, they need
Yeah,
to be
those are
repaired.
craters.
But I think the point you're thinking of is County 13.
Well, I think that one's going to be an issue too, because obviously it's getting already bad enough, it's just going to continue to get worse, so something's going to be
We
done
gotta
there.
do it right.
The biggest issue with 13 is that, I mean, one is that it's going to continue to get worse as you get trucks back on it once the roadway gets opened up. But the other thing is come winter with plowing, your plow blades can't get into the low points of the
Mhm,
roadway.
right.
So, you're going to
And you
end up
have ice
with this
buildup.
pack of ice in the middle of the lane for your tire and stuff. So that's why I was saying, you're going to be spending $20,000 on that wedge, I think, no matter what. But it's, do you spend another $60,000 to get that overlay in there, which would really extend that life of the fix. We also looked at, is it best to, wedge it and do a long-term fix, with state aid money, a year from now or something. With the condition of the base out there, it's going to be an expensive project to do it that way. That's where we kind of figure, this is the best fix at this time.
How long do you think you get out of it if you put 2 inches over the top?
Hopefully we can get 10 years.
Okay. So it's not going to be something where we do it in 3 years, you're going to be redoing it or something?
10 years.
Sure, hope
Hopefully.
not.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. The stuff on 25 that we did, that has similar subgrade issues that this roadway has, and that's held up 4 or 5 years. There's 2 areas where it's starting to bust up a little bit on the surface. Overall, it's 90% of it's held up really good. Where I'm going to guess that most of that's going to last a lot longer than 10 years. And I'm hoping that this way is the same.
And this is kind of a continuation of the project that's going
Yeah.
on there now, so when they pave, they can
Just
They
keep
keep
going.
pave
going.
right through. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the nice thing about doing this now is that they're always shut down. You pave it at the same time, and they're always opened up. We're done. We're out of there.
Mhm.
Instead of having to come back in the
Makes
future
sense.
to shut the roadway down again.
Right.
Yeah. It's the board's wishes.
I think we gotta do it right, and I think this is the time to do it.
I
When
can't
they
see-
shut down already.
Yeah. I can't see doing a
And we
wedge.
have to do the culverts. They have to be corrected.
Those are they're literally road hazards. Would you like to wait a week? Consensus?
That's up to you guys. And
It's your
you estimate
district.
your fund balance, well,
Yeah.
half of it is, half of it's
Yeah,
your
that's true.
committees. And obviously it's coming out of fund balance, and we have money to cover it, we're not
Right.
falling short, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think we should vote.
I'll make a motion to approve fixing the 2 culvert areas in County 13.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor say aye,
Aye.
and opposed nay. That motion is carried.
Real quick, I've had a bunch of phone calls with County 4.
Yes.
So people are asking why are we laying
So-
essentially black gravel over the top of a freshly paved road? And I said, I don't have the answer for that one.
I did too.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of studies done recently. Well, I shouldn't say recently. Studies have been going on for decades. On the benefit of seal coating roadways. When to do it. What it used to be is that studies would say seal coated in the first 5 years. If you seal in the first 5 years, what you're going to have is it's going to extend the life of the roadway. What the latest studies are all saying is that if you seal coat it within that first year, when you put down asphalt, there's air voids, and initially, water can get into that voids. And within the first few years, the tires kind of mesh that roadway together so the voids go down. Well, because of the higher air voids at the beginning, you can get water into it easier and start breaking up that asphalt. And you also get more oxidization into the asphalt from the sun and the heat and stuff. Plus, when the asphalt's produced, it's coming out of the site at 300 degrees. So you want to get that oil on it, and that's supposed to help keep it from cracking up as quickly. So what the studies are saying is if you can seal coat in the first year, it's much better than waiting until year 4 or 5. So this is going to be our first project where we're doing it in the first year. Other counties are putting it right in their paving contract where they're paving it and they're sealing within 2 weeks.
So then you're putting the oil down and then
The oil is the biggest benefit,
Sure.
and then by putting down the lightweight boiler slag, that's going to create that black surface. It's going to melt off, good in the winter. Stripes, once the stripes go down, which should be today, then the stripes are going to jump out more and do it.
Okay.
So it's kind of a change of philosophy. We're moving it up a touch quicker. It's our first roadway we're going to experiment with it, see how it holds up, and then in the future if we continue on.
Okay. Well, thanks, Brian.
Did you want these back?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, I can put them in the file if you want.
And Tess?
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Sorry. Have one agenda item this morning, public health. You have the justification in front of you. We are recommending approval of an 8-week unpaid leave request for a public health employee on sheet starting on or about September 4th. And this is in our policy. When we have folks that do not have the accruals available to them. It's up to the department head and the board.
And we believe that we would have the short-term capacity to take care of this leave of absence without any issues.
Motion to approve the leave.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion is carried.
Thank you very much.
We have Rodney here.
Yep.
Come on up.
Commissioners, I'm waiting for my investigator to show up yet. He's just a few minutes out.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, we don't have anything on the consent agenda. Has everyone seen claims in
Yep, it's all back.
already? We have a motion to approve. Those.
Motion.
I'll second it.
Motion, second, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. That's carried.
I am, you got company coming in.
And application for abatement of parcel one, okay, it's James and Lynette Felamy.
Motion to approve the application for
Second.
abatement.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. That's carried.
Thank you.
Not quite ready yet.
For lunch.
Do we have to approve the consent agenda?
Even though there's,
We don't.
okay.
Roll call vote.
Oh, yeah. I have something I want to, well, I was going to bring it up in the commissioner thing, but I'm on the EMS board for Southeast Minnesota region, and they're updating their files per auditor request of having a hard copy, and it's the same contract we've always had, but I need Steve and this to go on record. We should have a copy, and they need a copy, hard copy back, so.
Okay. So
Just
do
a
we need an approval?
formality. It's already approved.
It
We've
is.
already approved it. They just had electronic copies, and the auditor wanted hard copies.
Okay. You know this to be good. Okay.
I suppose redundancy is happening.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So it's just a formality to get us back.
Okay. Anybody else have any discussion items?
I had another contact from this is from AMC, the Policy and Safety Committee, but I'm actually working with Mark Schultz and Sheriff Inglet on that, and it's mainly, they had sent out a resolution to trying to reduce the number of people with mental illnesses in jail. And it's a resolution that the county board could pass And right now, we're checking to see if there would be any cost to do this kind of thing to the counties before we sign anything. So I will get more information on that, but that is pending right now.
So what is it for?
It's a federal program to, and then they're going state by state to reduce the number of people with mental illnesses in jails, to provide them services.
Like a mental hospital to help them out versus just
That
jailing
type
them?
of deal, yeah, instead of jailing them.
Sure.
But before we actually approve it, I think we need to see if there's a cost involved. I mean, it's a good idea. The whole idea is a very positive thing, but we got to see, because we aren't going to get aid for it.
They were talking, I know, a few years ago when we were first starting construction of our jail, about doing some sort of a mental health facility. Is this part of that,
It could be,
Okay.
depending the direction we want to take it. This is just kind of to go to the state saying we support it, but we don't know if we're going to support it yet, if there's a cost
I see.
to the counties.
Sure.
So that's why I'm waiting, but I am dealing on that part too, so.
Great.
Sam, I'd asked you a question about land exchanges. You want to chime in on that, as long as we've got a few minutes?
Yeah, I can, Commissioner. There's actually a specific statute on that in Minnesota, as you're aware of this arena today. I'm the corporate counsel for the corporation. That is Houston County. It was set up by the state of Minnesota years ago. Under statute 373.01, the power statute, subdivision 5E, that the county may exchange parcels of real property or substantially similar equal value, a property equal, substantially similar equal value without advertising for bids. The estimated values for these parcels must be determined by the county assessor, or it can be done by licensed real estate, Minnesota licensed real estate appraiser. And then if the board decides to go through that before giving final approval, this exchange land and county shall must hold a public hearing, and then there has to be the proper notice 2 weeks prior to the approval. So it is possible.
Definitely doable. Okay, that's good to hear.
As long as you're on that, Commissioner, I did have a question that came from Ms. Miners regarding disposition of some property that
Yes.
the county had. I think it had to do with this child-friendly room that we have. It has some, I don't know what's below dilapidated furniture. But they have it there. And somebody had the question, and I think it was a good question, was could they know people who could use this? Can they give this furniture, a couch, a chair to these people? And under that same statute, you can dispose of real property. And so you could dispose of that, and the county could. The question I would have, and it goes to a broader one, would be, first of all, as far as, while that may be a very deserving person that we give that property to, but how do we know and who should be picking up that person? So it would be best if you have some sort of system or policy or procedure, so anybody have a chance at it, and if somebody else doesn't want it, then you can make a decision at that point. I would say that whatever happens with that property, however it is disposed of through the auction or whatever, at some point for auditing purposes, we have to know exactly it was declared surplus and then how it was disposed of, so we could account for it. One thing the board may want to consider is getting I don't know if there's a specific policy that the board has regarding disposal of county property, and that is something that the board may want to consider. In a broader idea that, and this is something that a lot of different people that have to be involved in, department heads, specifically the sheriff, who come to mind, is that when people commit certain crimes, vehicles and other things are forfeited, and there's statutory ways to how to deal with that. But it's my understanding in this county we've been having an auction at the fair. I don't know if that's once a year or whatever. But there is time value to money, and that certain vehicles that we have, do we want us sitting and storing them for this amount of time and incurring whatever possible liability could have come from that, and then we sell them? It may be something that we want to look at, some sort of mechanism that would be quicker than having an auction once a year. just for a lot of different reasons, and it's something the board would have to adopt. But many counties have different policies on it. Now it's something the board would have to require. Would be the drafting of policy, and the board would have to approve it. If there's long to answer the question, I'll try to address it.
We've talked about that with like computers and stuff too. You know?
I did a whole bunch of research on like online auctions, and we make a lot more money off the stuff doing the county auction. It seems like the online auctions take a much bigger percentage of the profit.
That's good to know.
Yeah, and I've got all the data if anyone wants to look at it.
Okay, very good. Any more? Okay.
So, Sam, are you, Attorney Yonta, are you going to come up with some kind of policy that we could give away to a needy client excess? I mean, how do other counties do it other than the county auction?
At this point here, I mean, to me, as Ms. Miners indicated, is unless you have to count something other than the county auction, that's, I think you, don't say you have to go that way, but it's the most fair way to do it. I don't know, and you'd have to talk to the IT people here too. I don't know if there's something that we could, if you had just throwing an idea out there, if you had some electronic means to say, hey, we have this property, we did this stuff that has, it's ascertained that it's not only disposable, obsolete property, but perhaps it has zero or very little value, and we could separate that from, say, cars or trucks or whatever, squad cars. But this type of property we would have for sale, and somebody could contact a contact person, whoever that would be, regarding purchasing that.
Okay.
And it would be out there for a certain amount of time. At that time, if nobody wants it, perhaps then the board could just make a motion. Now you could, and then you could just say, okay, this can go to Human Services, and they can give it to client A or B.
So kind of almost like the county's own kind of Craigslist, where we can just post it, where at least it's open for everybody to see, and if it's free, it's kind of first come, first served. Like everybody's had the opportunity to view it, and then if something like that.
To follow up, I mean, you could apply that to the situation here, where if this social worker wanted to give this couch to a family, they know indeed knows it, they could say, you know, I'm going to put it up here, and they could bid. The employee is allowed to bid on these things as long as it's competitive, and they could bid and buy it for $1. And then they could give it to whoever they want to give it. But they just have to have the opportunity for every. And frankly, between if you had that Craigslist site or a Facebook site, whatever you want to do, you probably almost would have better notice in some ways than the annual auction.
Right.
But that's just something that if we wanted to get to the point we wanted to draft a policy, you know, it's something that I could do or have to wait on others to do it.
Last thing, not to drag this out, I know we got another appointment, but along with those lines of thoughts, you know, we've got the cars that are being forfeited and stuff. I mean, even putting it on there where we can find out with Kelly Blue Book or whatever the value of that car, put it on there. If somebody wants to buy it for full market value, great. If they don't, then it goes to auction. But I mean, at least it gives it that opportunity that it's out there longer than somebody just sitting around and waiting for 6 months till it goes on auction. And, you know, I mean, this a good suggestion too, that you might get a little bit more publicity if that starts getting popular and people are looking on there for stuff on a regular basis. You know, I don't know, but anyway, it might be something to look at. So maybe further discussion later.
Okay, we move on. Okay, Rod.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Rodney Birch, I'm the Sheriff from Wabasha County. I have my detective, Mike Levine here, who's been our fraud prevention investigator for the last 2 years. In 2013, we were approached by, just a little history first, approached by our social services director, wondering if law enforcement wanted to venture into the fraud prevention investigator work. And I was very passionate about it for the last, at the time, 10 or 11 years as sheriff. I was very frustrated by what we were doing in that area. And I won't put down the person that was in that area, but it was a civilian investigator. And we didn't think it had the same type of impact as law enforcement did when they went out and talked with these folks. 5 counties got together, and I think within 2 months we had this position created, and we were off and running. And we didn't know a lot about how we were going to run this, what we were going to do. We knew that we had a high-energy guy that was going to be doing this, that was self-motivated, and really he's not going to have a supervisor because he's going to be working in 5 counties. And if you can imagine the 5 counties and the population that we're serving with this position, that's a lot of people and a lot of cases. So he's got to prioritize his cases. So I thought, we've been doing this 2 years now. We've got the numbers. I think they were presented to you for this last fiscal year. We want to come before you and just give you a brief update and take any questions that you might have. I think I'm going to have our investigator talk about a couple of cases and that he may have worked here in this county, or they may be outside of this county that may be kind of interesting. It should be noted that I get complaints about my investigator. I never did before until he took this job. And the complaints always come from somebody that's getting their benefits taken away. And it should also be known that we're very compassionate to people in need. And that's not what this job is about. We're about taking benefits away from people that are lying and cheating the system. And as I talk to my township officers, and you folks do as well, they're very passionate about hearing about this subject. And I shouldn't say it's fun to talk about because the government's being cheated out of money, and it's your tax dollars that are being taken. But they're very passionate about hearing about it. It's really a feel-good that we're doing something proactive about it. And anyway, Mike, do you have any cases that you could share? Or,
well, I just wanted to say first off, like he said, I did draw the short straw and I was pointed to the welfare fraud. It's also very passionate for me as well because, essentially when I go out, unlike any other cases, it's my money, it's our money. So what I noticed, like public support, you have a lot more public support than neighbors. I mean, you could have arrested the neighbor on a drug charge 6 months ago and they're still going to talk to you because in their eyes, that person's a cheater because they're stealing welfare money. So we've had a ton of cases, and obviously there is a challenge, being I am in Wabasha County, to do the 5 counties, but I would say, Houston County, and Karen can attest to this. I mean, I have a phenomenal working relationship with you guys, and that goes both ways. It's my understanding from talking to Ms. Kohlmeyer that prior to me starting, there hadn't been any criminal charges for welfare fraud in at least 10 years. We got one right away initially, a criminal charge, and then I believe the attorney's drawing one up basically right now. So we're getting some good cases. There's obviously, I mean, I could sit here all day and tell you stories about, the crazy stuff I hear. And he's right, everybody seems to complain about me. I run a digital recorder now. I have thousands and thousands of recordings. Our IT guy at the office actually made me a separate server just for my recordings and my complaints. And it's like, when I leave a place, I call up or send him an email right away. I'm like, well, you're getting a complaint here. What happened? I'm like, well, I took her benefits away. She's lying. So, it's definitely an entertaining job, and, a lot of it is what your guys' caseworkers here create for me. I mean, I'm only one person, and they create a lot of the work for me. And, it all starts with them. So, I mean, I pat them on the back first. And, I wouldn't be anything, or our numbers wouldn't be what they are without, very proactive people on your guys' end.
So what we found out is there's a great deal of passion within the financial workers in the offices to get this done, and there might not, they weren't able to do anything with that passion in the last many years before we took over this case.
Yeah.
So I understand, like, you get most of your complaints, I would assume, from like human services, or do you get complaints from outside people, citizens of the community that say, hey, something's fishy what they're doing? Or
so my referrals, which I'll refer to them as referrals, like my case referrals come like from your eligibility workers here. So Rodney goes in, talks to one of Karen's eligibility workers, and they kind of get that sneaky feeling or whatever, that funny feeling that, she had an iPhone 6, she had her nails done, she's got no job, she pays $750 a month rent, she's up on her rent, she just rolled up in a Cadillac Escalade, it's like something's not adding up. She'll write me a referral basically saying, Mike, go check on this. Some of them are really extreme, some of them are, they're just, something seemed off with this, I don't really know what, but just that 6 cents, can you go check on it? So My caseload, I mean, just so you guys know, I mean, my caseload, I'm running anywhere from 40 to 60 cases all the time is what my backlog is. Like last time I was in the office, I just fear pushing that refresh on my computer because everything's all computerized. So it was like 55 cases. I mean, so it's a ton of work, but you know, it's I don't look at it as work because it is kind of entertaining, and I mean, it's fun.
I appreciate what you're doing. You know, it's funny, I've had conversations with friends too, they say the same thing, where sometimes somebody that's getting benefits and they go, something doesn't add up. And obviously when I was in college, one of my jobs was working at Quick Trip. And you kind of see that sometimes where people come in, like you said, the nails are done up, the iPhones, and they just rolled up in a brand new 2014 car, and you're going, something's not adding up. So I appreciate you looking at it.
Or they have, you know, EBT. It seems like because of where you guys are on the border, there's a lot of commingling of state funds, whereas people are going to apply for benefits in Houston County, but then they're going to maintain a P.O. box in La Crosse, say they're homeless in La Crosse, to get benefits over there. Sure. But then they're really from Chicago and drawing benefits in Chicago as well. So, you know, that's pretty popular too, is a lot of the state line stuff where there's different people, you know, bouncing across trying to get benefits. That was actually our last case here. You know, somebody basically, you can do a lot of, in order to apply for benefits, you can apply basically online now, so you don't even need to go in. So, you know, and this was one where I credit your workers, where your workers basically just knowing their clients, customers, and the previous history, they're like, Mike, check this out. This just isn't adding up. You know, the person is saying she's living here, and we just don't believe that. The address came back as, you know, kind of a funky address. Turned out the initial address didn't even exist, and you know, it turned out that she wasn't even living in the state, but she was saying she was to try to get Minnesota benefits because Minnesota does have one of the best benefit programs around. You know, Minnesota has a cash program that's one of the best around, which, you know, unfortunately it draws a lot of people here, and it also causes a lot of fraud.
So when you do catch somebody, I mean, are there repercussions other than just taking the benefits away? I mean, is there possible jail time or like restitution, or you know?
Yeah,
like,
and that can go kind of three different ways, and you know, your attorney can probably talk about that more. But my idea, when I go talk to people, I kind of have three options. I can fix the benefits or fix the issue. So maybe it's somebody that maybe necessarily just didn't understand, and some of the stuff's kind of complex, and maybe some of the people are uneducated, so they just really didn't know. So hey, let's just fix the issue. Or yes, you were pushing the envelope a little bit, but I'm gonna have a heart on this one, and let's just try to fix it. So there's that one where I just call up Karen. I'm like, let's add Dad to the case. Let's do this. You know, this is what we need to do to fix it. Then there's another thing what's called an administrative disqualification waiver. So it's basically, that's on a civil side. So there's civil and criminal. So criminal is, I'm going to send a referral over to your county attorney. He's going to charge him with wrongfully obtaining assistance and perjury. Basically, you can't lie on the welfare document, or that is perjury. So if you get convicted of a wrongfully obtaining assistance charge, you lose your benefits for a year. So that's the penalty along with the criminal time, but that's as far as how it impacts the welfare benefits. But the alternative to that is this administrative disqualification waiver. So I can basically go there and say, instead of criminal charges, here's another option for you. You're still going to lose your benefits for a year, but you don't get a criminal charge. You just have to sign this waiver basically saying, I fudged the system and I maybe pushed the envelope a little too far. So that's kind of the three different options that we have. And I kind of go with almost like the officer discretion, where the people that are lying a little bit, people that are lying, and people that are completely screwing the system. So, and then I kind of base it off that.
so if somebody loses their benefits for a year and they want to go back and reapply a year later, I mean, is there kind of that asterisk on their record that says?
I would, yeah, everything's going to be in the human services record. You know, it's all going to be tracked, so they're going to know. And you know, I've got several of those cases now because I've been doing it 2 years. You know, the first year I have them sign this waiver. You know, the year's over, they kind of a little nervous for another year, and now they're applying, and right away I'm getting referrals that it's already not making sense. What they're saying, you know, and I believe it's if you sign 3 of those waivers in a year or in a lifetime, you're disqualified forever. So, you know, but part of that is, you know, when you sign those waivers and when you lose your benefits, it sounds harsh, but you're in Minnesota, keep in mind. So when you say you lose your benefits, you're losing your portion of the benefits. So if you're a family of 5, the mom's just going to lose her benefits. So if you get $500 a month in cash support, maybe you're only going to get $400. So, I mean, that's what I mean. It sounds harsh, but, you know, not all, it just doesn't work out that way all the time. So that's why, you know, maybe I'll try to get dad to sign one too, or the absent parent in the house, because then you lose their portion. You know, because a lot of times, if they're to that point where I'm having them sign the waiver, they're really manipulating the system, and it's like, we need to do something, or, you know, because that's where I go back to, that's my money, you know, I work awful hard for that. So.
Yep.
One thing I'd like to note is that we get $90,000 in a grant, Wabasha County does. It's eaten up with salary and benefits. Wabasha County bought a vehicle to begin with. We got the 50% reimbursement from the federal government because it came through social services, community services. So we end up spending about $15,000 on a vehicle, and we supply the gasoline every year for that. But out of that $90,000, the state is expecting a $3 return on every dollar. In the past, they were getting a $1 return on that, what they're expecting, $3. Today, we're doing $7 return on that money, and they're very satisfied with what Mr. Lean's doing. They're sending people down here to get trained by him from other parts of the state, and it's really working out as a neat regional model. One thing I wanted to mention to you, and I will be mentioning to the other counties that are involved, is when this vehicle is up in about 2017, I'm thinking, I'm going to be asking the other counties for some funds to go towards that vehicle. And what I'd like to be asking for is about $3,000 per county to go towards that vehicle. Maybe $2,500, maybe $500 in gas, somewhere in there. So our taxpayers aren't funding him working down here, because it's just not enough. And I think the numbers show that it's valued. Next year, we hope to come back and have it itemized a little bit for each county, and we can do that just by how we enter some of the numbers into the fields, so that you can see a little bit more specific value for Houston County. Today, we were going to ride down together, and he said, I got cases I got to work down there if you don't mind driving down yourself. So that's the way why we didn't show up here together today. So
If your cases are like multi-state and you discover something here, then do you send that information on to the other states, or?
Generally, how I try to do it is, because once I send it to another state, it's, you know, some officers are going to say it's out of sight, out of mind. My thought is, I don't know what's going to happen when it gets over there. I have a good working relationship with, you know, your guys' county attorney along with the others. I want it to be in our county because I want to charge it out, because I want to make sure something happens. So if there is that cross, you know, state lines issues, I try to get, you know, like whatever county it is to charge them, because I want to make sure something gets done. I mean, I can't stress enough how I really hold this program very near and dear to my heart. I mean, I am extremely passionate about this job, and you know, it shows, and I think it really rubs off. I mean, I came down here and did a training with your, you know, it was a whole room full of people that Karen had lined up, and it was, I mean, it was just great. It was phenomenal to see the dialogue between all of us, and you could just see the passion and the fire kind of between all of us. And, you know, that's really nice to see, and you don't have that in a lot of counties. And, you know, you really have some workers here that are real go-getters, and, you know, for being a small county, I don't think much welfare fraud, you know, gets by those guys. And it's really nice to see, because some of the other counties, I mean, I can't say that about. And, I mean, you guys should really be proud of your workers, because they're phenomenal.
We are.
any other questions?
Just like recoveries, do you ever get any money back from some of these frauds?
Well, yes. Karen could probably talk about that more, but there is, you know, some payback stuff. I know in Wabasha County, we just had a large case up there where we ended up showing this older man had basically been manipulating the system for years. I was able to find out that he got a disability settlement for the past 30 years that he was hiding. He got a large inheritance that he had been hiding. Turns out that he had passed away, but he was in the hole against us. You know, he owed us thousands of dollars. So they're in the works now to actually go after his assets. They're going after his pickup truck and, you know, other stuff to basically recoup some of that money that he was, you know, he wrongfully obtained. And you see some of the other things, and this is where, you know, if somebody's manipulating the system, there is some payback. I mean, if they have the means to pay it back, but realistically, if they're on assistance, it's tough. So what the state of Minnesota does, which I don't necessarily agree with, is essentially if you're manipulating the system and you get caught and they determine that there's a $1,000 overpayment, so your eligibility workers will send off that worker or that person something that says, you wrongfully obtained $1,000. Well, I can't pay that money. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Instead of getting $100 a month in food support, we're only going to give you $75, and $25 of that goes towards paying off your debt. So essentially the state's paying off their own debt, but like I said, I mean, you're in Minnesota. I mean, I guess I kind of expect that, but at least something's happening. And there is times where they do get some money out of people, but you know, the whole concept of this program is catch that money before it goes out. And that case we had down here is a prime example. No money was ever paid out to this lady, but she was looking at probably $1,000 a month she was going to be getting. And we stopped that right at the application. Whereas before, you know, I think statistically they say once you receive that first payment, the chances of you getting caught in the first 11 months are extremely slim. So you're looking at that person just, you know, basically $11,000 of taxpayers' money we just saved, just off that, you know, one assertive eligibility worker you guys have that was, you know, it's like stuff like that really is, you know, exciting to see.
Are there ever cases where somebody will do that and then get off right away because they know that? You know, where they'll go a year and then get off quick to try and...
It's interesting because a lot of people, I go talk to them and I'm like, hey, I'm Mike Levine, the welfare fraud investigator. Here's some issues with your case. Just take me off assistance. I'm like, no, it's too late now. So a lot of people try getting off assistance the minute I show up at the door, or else when they know that criminal charges, they think that if they call up, you know, your workers here and cancel their benefits, it all goes away. So, and it's interesting because another thing that I've seen is when I go to your house to talk to you, they don't want to talk to me because they don't want to talk to the cops about this. So they're super nice to me. The minute I leave, they call up the workers and just bash them, and because they try to manipulate them, you know, and it's like, I wouldn't try to manipulate them because they know the programs way better than I do. You know, they know the rules, everything, but, you know, I really see that a lot where they're like, well, I'm calling my worker, they'll fix this. I'm like, no, there's no fixing this. You made a mistake or you screwed the system, whatever. I mean, you call it whatever you want, but there's definitely some issues with the case. And so, you know, it's just... the stories I can tell you are phenomenal. I mean,
the older gentleman he was talking about filed a complaint on him.
Yeah, I mean, just last week, last week I had a complaint too, but like a month ago or 2 months ago, one lady, I go to his house to talk to the son, and you know, I recorded everything. I talked to the kid. It wasn't even a case. It was a case that actually stemmed from down here, where the baby's mama had the kid, or claimed she had the kids getting benefits down here. So the welfare office in Goodhue just wanted me to verify that the kid was really in Goodhue County with Dad. So I just went, talked to Dad. He's outside smoking a cigarette. We're talking. You know, it was just a good conversation. I'm like, hey, I just have to verify that you have your child. Oh, yeah, no problem. You want to come in? He's sleeping. So we go in his house, and he's like, here. He woke him up, and they're playing, and he was talking. He's like, well, I'm a college kid, and I'm still trying to get everything going, but yeah, we had to take the baby away from Mom because she was crazy, and I'm like, okay, well, good conversation. You know, we left 3 minutes late. You know, 3 minutes I was there. I got a call from the state of Minnesota, Goodhue County Sheriff's Office, and the supervisor. He called his mother and said that I handcuffed him, drug him into the house, and I mean, it was just unbelievable. The state's calling me and being like, well, did you handcuff this person and hold a gun? Oh, and I held a gun out, and the guy was like describing my gun and this, and I'm like, what? So yeah, and that's just crazy, crazy stuff. And I'm like, why would you even complain in a situation like that? You know, it's like he wasn't even in trouble. But it's just one where he told his mom, and his mom, it just got worse and worse. And then I called the mom back, and I'm like, is he there right now? Yep. And I'm like, let me talk to him. And I'm like, you owe me an apology. So then I got that recorded. Then Goodhue County was going to charge him with reporting a false crime. I'm like, no. I'm like, but seriously.
Well, thanks for what you do.
What a job.
Thank you. Guys, have a good day.
Yeah,
Thank you.
very
Look
much.
forward to coming back sometime in the next June or July.
Yeah, write a book. It'd be interesting.
I've been told that.
Bet you could.
Human Services update. It's going to be a hard act to follow, girls.
I came to our Human Services all-staff meeting and talked to actually the whole staff. And yeah, very entertaining and really very knowledgeable. We learned a bunch.
Yeah, and it's gone from where we didn't do referrals in the past to where people are referring. It's not the first thing we look for, but at least we have an avenue to pursue these cases where we know something's just not right and we can't do anything about it. You know, and on the other side, he is very compassionate with the people. We've done fraud referrals where he's called us back saying, no, this isn't the situation, but this person needs this kind of help. Is there anything more you can do? So he is kind of eyes on for us,
He's
too.
a social
So
worker himself at
He can
times.
be, yeah. So very high energy. There's days where it's like, holy cow, how you get through the day. But it's been a really great working relationship, and he's done an amazing job. So staff enjoy talking with him, doing the referrals. So it's been a good thing.
Yeah. So, first thing I would like to do is actually welcome Bethany Mullen, our social work supervisor.
How do you do? Welcome.
Thank you. I'm not sure who knows her, who doesn't. I know a few of you do. Yeah, Bethany is, well, she's new at this position, but she has been with the county almost 10 years as a social worker in various capacities, and so she has a nice background, and we're really happy she's on board. So anyway, and then I'll just keep going, I guess. One thing I want to talk to you about is the child-friendly room, and we're getting there at it. We have furniture ordered, we have carpet ordered, the room has been painted, and we are actually the group that are wondering what to do. We've got a pretty old chair and a pretty darn old love seat in there. They're a little dated looking, they're pretty well worn out. They're probably at least 20 years old, I would say. And we do happen, we many times we have needy clients who need furniture, and that is what we were thinking, you know, we'll have to go through the proper channels, obviously, to get that taken care of. But anyway, I understand now a little better, and I'm glad actually Sam looked it up and knew what to do, so we'll put that one kind of on hold for the moment. I don't think the chair and the couch will go anywhere. So, but anyway, the child-friendly room, when it is completely done, we'll invite you to come look. And we couldn't order the furniture till we had the carpeting picked out and those kind of things. So it's taken longer than we planned, but we'll get there. And it's going to be really nice when we're done. And I think people will really enjoy it. And it'll be really useful too. The next thing I really want to talk about is I have a purchase of service agreement with Olmsted County, and what it is actually is a renewal, and you don't need to sign anything, but it's kind of an FYI. It has to do with, it's called the Whatever It Takes grant, and last year Olmsted County received money, and actually the Crest counties all participate in this. What it does is it hires a full-time liaison case manager who goes to the Anoka and St. Peter facilities and is sort of a liaison between our social workers and the state of Minnesota's mental health facilities for adults. So that is what this grant is for, and I will give Michelle a copy of it, but you do not need to sign it. But I did want you aware of it.
Is the purpose of it to keep people moving up there?
Yes.
Is that kind of why it was put in place, right?
Yep, that's
Okay.
exactly right. And they've shown that the number of days, well, we've only had one client we've really had to use this liaison for. And I can't say it panned out exactly the way we wanted it to pan out, but I do know like Olmsted County, they've cut their number of days at least in half, if not more. People can kind of languish, I believe is the word up there, and kind of get a little forgotten. And the way the funding has changed with the state, we pay a lot more for our clients who end up at Anoka, primarily at Anoka. I think it's after 30 days, I can't remember exactly, but I think it's after 30 days we are 100% responsible, the way the laws have changed so much. It used to not be so expensive, but now it really is. So this, you know, in theory, it's a very worthwhile thing to belong to. It doesn't cost us anything unless we use the liaison. And then we do pay, it's like $74, $75 an hour for that liaison. And so anyway, it's kind of like, yeah, let's have this option available to us, and that's what we do. And the next thing I really would like to talk about is we actually averted a penalty from the state of Minnesota. The background on this has to do with child protection and the federal government measures. What happened was the state of Minnesota did not meet all their federal government measures in 2014, so the federal government decided to take away money and to penalize counties. In turn, the counties get to pay back the federal participation money that they were advanced earlier. The pretty cool thing about Houston County is we were one of 4 counties to not be penalized because we fell within the, here we go again, the reentry rate. The state and the feds have a reentry rate. They want, let me see, I've got a table on it. They did a 12-month reentry rate, and they want it less than 10%. And we happen to fall at 9.6%. And us, Grant County, Chippewa County, and Stevens County are the only counties who did not get penalized. Some counties in our region were penalized pretty heavily. I don't know the biggest one, but I think it might be about a $14,000 penalty they have to pay back. So I'm really pleased. What this is based on is prior to 2015, there were only 4 factors that this money was tied to. And the state of Minnesota was meeting 3 out of 4. The one they were not meeting was the reentry rate factor. And so from there, now the state of Minnesota, starting in 2015, has actually, I believe it's 7 federal data indicators. And we are not meeting 2 of those as a state. The jury's out there whether or not Houston County is, but the one factor is the reentry factor. And I looked up where we were last year. We were at 95% to the good, so that means, so actually 2014 was a better indicator even than the long-term indicator. So we've really come up to speed in 2014. The flip side of that, though, probably the reason we have such a good reentry rate is because I know our judge was very, had real strong feelings about keeping kids in foster care before giving them back to families. And sometimes the child protection workers were like, oh, we want this family to go back. And he'd say no, and he'd keep them a little longer. And obviously it paid off. But then on the other side of that, there's a permanency factor with kids, and we want them either back at home or adopted within a 24-month time frame. So we're not there yet, but we're getting there. We're working on that. So anyway, I'm just real happy that we didn't get penalized, and that's pretty neat when there's only 4 counties out of 87. So that's something to be pretty proud of. And then the only other thing I really want to talk about is budgets and where we're at with half the year gone. So half the year is 50%. If I look at the income maintenance group, their revenues are at 46% and their expenses are at 46%. How they got them both exactly the same, I don't know. It's $1.251 million revenue budget, and then their expense side is almost 1.7 million in expenses. So they're at 46%, and they're under budget. And social services is, they're at 42% of their revenues, 45% of their expenses. Their expenses are almost $2.7 million on a one-year basis. So when you combine the two, we're at 43 and 45%, and the budget is 50% gone for the year. So we're actually in really good shape. The revenues are always behind until the second half of the year because that's just what the state does. They hold our money, and we see the vast majority of our revenue hit in the third and fourth quarter, and especially the fourth quarter. So we're doing good. We're in fine shape. And that's kind of what I have. So who's next?
I just wanted to, with Mike being here, I'll keep it short, but just wanted to let you know, and I have not gotten an official declaration from the state yet, but August is Child Support Recognition Month. The state designates the month to recognize the staff and the work that they do, and I just want to do that for my staff. I've got 4 individuals that do amazing work. They know the laws, they know the rules. A lot of people think they just take money in and send money out, but they have to form some very strong relationships with the county attorney's office. They go into court with the magistrate, the district courts. They work with court admin, they're working with employers, and trying to build relationships between a client and a judge. They just do that work very, very, very well. As I've said in the past, we do have some things that we're facing, the MNsure referrals that are coming up, but the biggest thing, and this kind of works with Bethany a little bit as well, e-filing is coming up with the courts. So we did have a meeting with court admin. The workers will now, and my staff is very ready for this because of how they've already done their filing. It was nice to sit in a meeting and hear court admins say, you know, as far as they're concerned, our staff is #1 in the state with getting paperwork in, timeliness, and just the efficiency that they have with the paperwork that goes into the courts. What we're looking at are some changes with the e-filing. More information is going to be visible to the public through the website, so we have to make sure that we've got information left out. We need to make sure that there aren't data privacy spills. And I know Bethany maybe will talk a little bit about this on her child protection side. But we need to make sure bank accounts aren't given out, and when you're working with collections, there's a lot of different information. We have to make sure if there is confidential data that it gets filed correctly, because court admin is not responsible for checking our work, so we could have the potential to put people's private data out on a very public website. There are ways to take it down, but we just want to make sure that we're not doing that. So I believe we're looking at potentially starting October of this year, hopefully January at the latest, because we do need to be up and running by July of 2016. So I know we want to make sure we've got any issues worked out before we absolutely have to go live. So staff is working with that. One of the biggest issues is everything that we have, a lot of our documents are done through the state, so the state is aware of this too. We have to actually page number documents in order within certain groupings, so we're trying to figure out how to do that out of our EDMS system and out of our state system so that we can be in compliance. So we are stepping back a little bit where we're having to print out page number and put things back in, but that's small with every other issue we've kind of looked at. So like I said, I just wanted to make sure instead of coming at the end of the month that I came beforehand to let you know. So if you see any of that staff, please thank them for the work that they do, because they
Kim,
are.
do you maybe want to bring them into a meeting?
We can.
I think that would be, really a
That would be great.
a good thing.
Yeah, I think that'd be nice.
Yeah, and the fact that, we're looking at things, other counties do different, Olmsted County has this huge budget and they do a really nice retreat. So I'm looking at trying to do something nice for them, but isn't real spendy. So like I said, they really deserve the recognition because of what they do. So, and that's what I have. And then just following up with some of Mike's, we do have a claim system. So if somebody does commit fraud and there are overpayments, It all gets tracked within our system, and we do recoup, as Mike said. If they were supposed to get 100, we take some money back, and it pays off the claim. If they close off, we transfer the case to our collections worker, and we can take tax refunds, that kind of thing. So they can set up repayment arrangements in certain circumstances. So there is a way to track that as we track the disqualifications. There's a permanent record in the case, so we track if it's their first, second, or third offense. We put the timelines in there so that we know exactly when they can come back onto the program. So there are checks and balances on our side to make sure that we're tracking and implementing that correctly. So.
Well, to piggyback a little bit on that electronic filing, we are working on that, particularly with child protection. Right now, they have some court reports due, so they're looking at how they are going to be entering information and how their information is going to correlate with guardian ad litem, so they're identifying the children the same way, because we won't be using their name, and if we're numbering them so that our numbering system is the same, but so it's not in chronological age, so people can't figure out who is who. And luckily for us, which is good, a lot of our paperwork goes to the county attorney before it goes to court admin, so we do have another set of eyes looking at our stuff, so hopefully between us and them, we're not going to miss something and put something online that shouldn't be there. The most of my time today, I'm going to give you a little bit of a Min Choices update, which is our waiver assessment, and we are 6.5 months into our rollout. We went live in January. From that time, we have 3 assessors in the office, but I am the 3rd assessor. So right now, since the beginning of July, we're running 2 assessors. We have done 16 brand new assessments, and 2 currently are in the works. So, 18 maybe doesn't sound like a large number, but that's also on top of the 195 cases that the 4 waiver workers share and are still doing the work on that. And the time to complete those assessments, our average time is ranging from 8 to 20 hours start to finish. Previously, on our old assessments, we were probably averaging 3 to 8. So we've doubled our time, because the assessment is a combination of 3 assessment tools that we previously used that was more specific. There was the PCA assessment, the LTCC assessment, and then a DD assessment. So instead of doing the one that you were so familiar with and knew, it's now all combined into one. It's all on the computer. And depending on how you answer, you get drop-down boxes. So if it's somebody with high medical, lots of medications, high mental health concerns, your drop-down boxes, every single one's going to drop down, and you're answering numerous questions to get to the end when you've had everything. On the side, it zeroes out as you answer, so when you have all zeros, you know that you're done. But if there's still numbers there, you miss something, you have to go back and find it. So we've been putting in a lot of extra time to get that completed, but taking me out of the picture, the 2 of them, Diane and Shelley, are doing a great job. I mean, they know what they're doing. They're fantastic at what they do. So the other big change for us is that you have to have a knowledge of all waivers, because now, again, like we used to be specialized where they could call public health and request a PCA assessment. We could be getting that referral now, and we can go out and we can do that assessment, and in the end, PCA is going to be what's recommended, but it isn't something that we did a lot before, so we need to research and train and know what we can offer under all of our waiver programs, as well as PCA, public health waiver programs, EW and AC, and then our couple of programs that are grant funded, family support grant, or the consumer support grant, which is an MA funded program. So we all need to have that knowledge. And what we've been doing is we've been meeting with public health, their assessors, monthly, sometimes twice a month, so that we can talk about the assessments that we've completed, and if it's something where the nurses are coming up with, this person's eligible for CADI and I haven't done CADI before, we can give them some information and help them finish that assessment and where they can refer for services. And they can do the same for us with PCA. So it's been a really good working relationship with public health. The thing that is coming up in September is we were going to start rolling out reassessments. So everybody that's currently on the waiver, we've been doing the old tool. Now in September, we can start doing the new tool with them. We don't have to do everybody 100% this first year. So if September is a month where you already have 10 assessments, maybe you're gonna do 5, because then you're gonna not be able to do 10 20-hour assessments in September and get them all done. So we have this year to kind of work on that, and then next year in September, you're doing 100% of your assessments. The other change in that is that you are going to do assessments in your county of location and not your county of responsibility. So any out of county residents who are residing in some of our facilities here, we will be doing those assessments. And we look like right now the numbers in July that we're going to gain 13 that we're going to need to do. And we currently have 7 people living in other counties. So we're going to gain about 6 assessments that will increase our caseload a little bit. But those numbers can change on a monthly basis. So on the 15th of every month, we'll get a minutes report giving us the numbers and who's due, and we'll be communicating with the other counties so that we can get those complete. And that's kind of that's Min Choices right now. It's a lot like, MNsure, there's glitches, the system goes down, and when it goes down, it's not a paper copy you can print, and so then it's kind of we need to reschedule and start over. And some of them, we sit with them for 2 hours, and you can tell you're losing interest, we're losing focus, so we reschedule for 3 days later to come out and finish another 2 hours. So it's been different, and it's been a work in progress, and it will continue to be that as we go into reassessments.
One thing I know Bethany has talked about, the way other counties have theirs arranged, and how they have just assessors doing just assessments. And I'm wondering, we need to explore more, but I'm wondering if that wouldn't be something good for our county to explore, just because these assessments, what used to take them such little amount of time, now you're just, you're kind of buried in assessments. Yeah. So,
and the outcome of the assessment is actually different too. You've always written a plan after your screening, and currently it's the individual support plan, but that's changed too. And so it's not only a new screening, but it's a new plan, and it's 2 new plans, because it's a CSP and a CSSP, depending on what services they choose. So it can be 5 to 15 pages depending on that. So everything's different from start to finish.
Yeah. Disability services workers have always paid for themselves. They're the group that's always paid for themselves, and actually, and then some. And so they do help fund some of the other social services programs that aren't so great about paying for themselves. So we want to make sure they have the time to get their work done. So we're going to be studying the transition, I think. Maybe we'll be back with more.
Okay. Any questions further?
Good
Thank you.
report.
Very good, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, any discussion on highway shop? I was at the school board meeting last night regarding highway shop, and the general feeling there was that they would rather see houses in that location, just for comment. Any other discussion, comments?
No, just, I don't know, I know you talked to, Bruce brought up that public hearing, if you wanted to have some discussion on that.
What I'd like to have, in doing that, would be a plan, something that we can show people what it is, what it's costing, what we're getting, where it's going to be. That's my feeling. Otherwise, I think we're talking arguments.
I did get one call suggesting that we put the highway department in La Crescent. But,
Might be taking you up on that.
Township has areas that they would be willing to have it, and be really convenient for people in that end of the county. But
We're going to commissioner reports. Dana, would you like to begin?
I have no report.
Okay.
I brought my stuff up
Okay,
before,
yeah.
so.
Okay,
yeah.
Justin?
Nothing other, I just at the same meeting Steve was,
Okay.
covered it, so.
Sure. Judy?
On Wednesday, I had solid waste, and we're just talking about the futures of
Mhm.
what's happening out there. And then on Thursday, I had an emergency radio meeting in Rochester, and it was alongside RAC. And we had someone come in and talk about the wireless network that's going to be going nationwide that will be, it's years in the process, but first responders will have main access to it. So if you're involved in fire departments, police departments, because like when they had like things like the bridge in the cities that went down, all the Verizon lines were plugged. They couldn't use them for emergency people or anything. So this is a side-by-side network that'll only be available to emergency personnel. It was pretty interesting. And I know I talked about La Crosse and their radios use of our system, and they gave them a limited use, which will be really good because in an emergency, like on the river or anything, we count on La Crosse County to help us, the city of La Crosse. So it was all good.
Okay, good. And I just had the school board meeting last night. Is there any further business to come before this meeting? If
I'll
not,
make
I'd
a
enter-
motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed nay. We are adjourned.
So where do we need to go?